Every day, under the scorching midday sun, Raphael and his mother pushed her wheelchair through the crowded streets, trying to sell each piece of candy to make a living. Raphael, a 15-year-old boy, sold sweets and flowers on the streets of Guadalajara to help his mother, Maria, who had to use a wheelchair. Life was not easy for them, but Raphael always kept patience and gratitude in his heart. "Candy! Fresh flowers!" Raphael called out to passers-by, hoping someone would stop and buy something. Maria watched her son with a mixture of pride and pain. She knew that the life they led was hard and that he deserved so much more. "Raphael, son, come here for a moment," Maria said, her voice tired but soft. Raphael approached, momentarily leaving his sales behind. "What's wrong, Mom?" he asked, worried by his mother's expression. "It pains me to see you having to do this," Maria said, tears welling up in her eyes. "You should be in school studying, not out here on the street selling sweets." Raphael, although young, deeply understood the situation. He knelt beside his mother and took her hand. "Mom, don't worry. I'm okay. I know it's hard, but we're doing this together. And someday, things will get better," he said firmly. Maria sighed, stroking her son's hair. "I hope you're right, Raphael. But sometimes I feel so helpless," she confessed. "Don't feel that way. The people who insult us or ignore us are just projecting their own frustrations." "It's not our fault," Raphael replied, trying to comfort his mother. Maria smiled, albeit sadly. "You're right, son. You're so wise for your age. I've always dreamed that you would have a better life, that you could study and have a bright future. But I feel like I'm failing you," she said, her voice trembling with emotion. "You're not failing, Mom. We're doing the best we can. And someday, we'll make it," Raphael affirmed with conviction. Maria remembered her own childhood, full of hardship and scorn. Her mother, Vanessa, had never treated her with love or respect, always seeing her as a burden. This attitude had left deep scars on Maria, but it had also made her stronger. "Vanessa always said I would never amount to anything," Maria recalled, her voice filled with repressed pain. "But look at me now. I have a wonderful son, and we do what we can to survive." Raphael squeezed his mother's hand tighter. "You don't need to worry about what Grandma said. You're the best mother in the world, and that's all that matters," he said tenderly. Suddenly, a sharp voice interrupted their thoughts. "Get out of the way with that chair, you fool!" a woman shouted impatiently from her car, her face twisted in irritation. Maria quickly moved aside, feeling the harshness of those words like a physical blow. Turning back to Raphael, she vented her frustration. "It's getting harder and harder to sell. I feel like people either completely ignore us or treat us with contempt. It's as if we're invisible to them," she said, her voice heavy with a deep sadness that only those living on the margins of society could understand. Raphael, though young, possessed a maturity forged by the hardships of life on the streets. Looking at his mother, he tried to offer words of comfort. "Mum, don't feel that way. I get ignored too when I'm out selling. I prefer to think that the people who offend us are just projecting their own frustrations. They must be having a bad day or maybe a difficult life, and they take it out on the first person they encounter," he said sincerely. Maria absorbed her son's words, finding in him a source of comfort and admiration. "You're right, my son. Many people look down on me for being in a wheelchair, but that's a reality I've learned to face over time," she replied, pausing as her mind wandered back to the challenges of the past. "And the way your grandmother, Vanessa, treated me. She never understood or accepted my condition. That taught me to be stronger, even in the face of humiliation and pain." Raphael listened attentively, trying to understand. "But why did Grandma treat you so badly, Mom? You work so hard. You try so hard. All I see is you struggling day after day to support us," he asked, his innocence evident. Maria looked into her son's eyes, seeing in them the same curiosity and search for understanding that she herself had in her youth. "Your grandmother's reasons are complex, Raphael. There are things in life that you are still too young to fully understand," she said, her words cautious, shielding Raphael from the harsh reality she herself had faced. "For now, just know that life has taught me to be strong. And that strength is what I want to pass on to you, so that you can face the world with your head held high, regardless of the challenges." Raphael observed his mother with concern. "Mom, I'm already quite grown up. I'm 15 years old and I work by your side every day. I don't understand all this mystery," he said, his eyes locked on hers, searching for some answer in Maria's weary gaze. "Did Grandma do something very bad to you?" Raphael's question, direct and charged with worry, hung in the air between them, an invitation to long-held revelations. Maria sighed, feeling the weight of that question. "Raphael, to me you're still just a child and I don't want you to harbor any resentment towards your grandmother," she began, her voice soft but firm. "She, for better or for worse, provides the roof over our heads. Without that, we would be on the streets." Maria looked at her son with tenderness. "I already feel so guilty for needing your help to work. The thought of seeing you living on the street would be unbearable. I've always dreamed that you would have a normal teenage life, that you could study and focus on being a humble and kind man. I dream that you go to college, find a wife, and build a better life than the one I've been able to give you," she said, her words laden with hope and a deep desire for Raphael to escape the hardships that had marked her own life. Raphael, listening intently, felt a whirlwind of emotions. "Mom, I'm not complaining. Everything I do from the heart," he said, his voice firm. "I know the importance of having a place to live. I won't do anything that might jeopardize our relationship with Grandma. Even though I don't agree with the way she treats you, I know that we need her in some way." Maria looked at Raphael, her heart filled with pride. Upon arriving home after an exhausting day of work, Maria and Raphael were greeted by Vanessa, Maria's mother, whose stern expression anticipated the tension of the dialogue that would follow. "How were the sales today? We need to pay the electricity bill. It's very overdue," Vanessa said, her voice laced with impatience and a note of reprimand. Maria's fatigue grew heavier with those words, knowing that the day's sales would not be enough to quell her mother's financial concerns. "It was a slow day, Mom. People seem to be increasingly insensitive to their neighbors. Sales are dwindling day by day," Maria replied, trying to maintain her composure. "I know about the electricity bill. I assure you we will pay before they cut off the service." Maria's response seemed only to inflame Vanessa's irritation. "Every day it's a different excuse with you, and the bills keep piling up," Vanessa retorted, with near aggression in her voice. "Now suddenly people have become insensitive. Everyone feels sorry seeing a woman in a wheelchair working on the street with her teenage son. That should be a draw for sales." Vanessa's words were harsh and cutting, revealing a mixture of frustration and a distorted perception of the reality faced by Maria and Raphael. "That's not what I meant, Mom, and I've never been interested in relying on my disability to make anyone feel sorry and buy what I sell." Maria's voice trembled slightly, denoting the effort to remain balanced in the face of Vanessa's harsh words. "Don't give me that story, Maria. You play the victim all the time, on top of blaming me for your disability." Vanessa spat, her eyes flashing with a mixture of anger and resentment. "I didn't even mention anything about blame, Mom. That only exists in your head," Maria replied, the tension in the air palpable, a mix of old misunderstandings and the daily stress that weighed on the shoulders of each of them. "Don't tell me what to do in my own house, Maria," Vanessa snapped in a voice that brooked no argument. "I allow the two of you to stay here, in this house that's mine. I'll say what I want. I don't care if you like it or not. Raphael will have to learn sooner or later how hard life is, especially when you have a mother like you." Raphael, watching the argument unfold, felt a mixture of sadness, anger, and helplessness. He wanted to defend his mother. He wanted to find a solution to these constant fights, to the precarious financial situation they were living in. But at the same time, he knew that the dynamic between his mother and grandmother was complex and involved secrets to which he had no access. Raphael woke before dawn, still feeling the weight of the previous night's argument. He knew that the situation at home was tense, and that the relationship between his mother, Maria, and his grandmother, Vanessa, only worsened over time. However, he decided to focus on the day ahead and how he could help make things better. He left the house with his bag full of sweets and flowers, determined to sell as much as possible to help with the bills. Upon reaching the traffic light on the main avenue, he saw his friend Lucas, who also sold bread to help his family. "Hey, Lucas," Raphael greeted, trying to sound cheerful despite everything. "Hey, Raphael," Lucas replied, adjusting the basket of fresh bread he was carrying. "How are you? You seem worried." Raphael sighed. "It's tough, Lucas. My mother and grandmother are always arguing. Yesterday was especially bad." Lucas nodded understandingly. "Yeah, sometimes life is hard, but don't worry, it'll get better. Hey, yesterday I saw something you might be interested in." "What was it?" Raphael asked, curious. "I saw a woman who looked a lot like your mother. She was in a fancy car and went into a very expensive hotel. At first I thought it was her, but then I realized it couldn't be," Lucas explained. Raphael frowned, incredulous. "That sounds strange, Lucas. My mother doesn't have a car and definitely couldn't afford a luxury hotel." "I know, but I swear she looked a lot like her. We could go sell near the hotel today and see if we see her again," Lucas suggested, his tone filled with enthusiasm. Raphael hesitated for a moment, but curiosity began to get the better of him. "Okay, let's try. We have nothing to lose." That day, Raphael and Lucas made their way to the hotel where Lucas had seen the woman. They set up near the entrance and began selling their products, all the while observing those who entered and left the place. Raphael couldn't stop thinking about what Lucas had said. The possibility that there was someone so similar to his mother intrigued and unsettled him at the same time. Several hours passed with no news, until, suddenly, Raphael saw a woman get out of a luxury car. He froze as he recognized the features he loved so much. "Lucas, look, there she is. That's the woman who looks like my mother," exclaimed Raphael, his voice trembling with a mixture of excitement and fear. Lucas followed Raphael's gaze and nodded. "Yes, it's her. What are you going to do?" Raphael was paralyzed, his mind a whirlwind of thoughts. "I don't know. I need to know who she is and why she looks so much like my mother." Without thinking twice, Raphael decided to follow the woman. He watched her enter the hotel, her elegant and confident gait contrasting sharply with the image of his mother, always worried and struggling through each day. Raphael entered the hotel lobby, feeling out of place amidst the luxury and opulence. He followed her at a safe distance, observing her every move. The woman approached the reception desk, where she was greeted with smiles and respect. Raphael moved close enough to overhear part of the conversation. "Good afternoon, Mrs. Louisa. How is your day today?" the receptionist asked. "It was lovely, thank you," the woman replied, her voice sending a shiver down Raphael's spine. It sounded incredibly familiar. Raphael waited for the woman, Louisa, to move away before approaching the reception desk himself. "Excuse me," he said, trying to sound as natural as possible. "Who was that lady who just left?" The receptionist looked at him with disdain, noting his humble appearance. "That was Mrs. Louisa, the owner of the hotel. Why do you ask?" Raphael felt the ground move beneath his feet. "Nothing. Just curious. Thank you." He left the hotel, his mind reeling with questions. How was it possible that someone so similar to his mother was the owner of a luxury hotel? What did it all mean? He returned to where Lucas was, who observed him with concern. "What happened? Did you find out anything?" "Yes. Her name is Louisa, and she's the owner of the hotel," Raphael replied, still in shock. "I don't understand what's going on, but I need to know more." Lucas nodded, understanding the gravity of the situation. "The best thing would be to talk to your mother. Maybe she knows something." Raphael couldn't sleep that night. The revelation that Louisa, the woman who so closely resembled his mother, was the owner of a luxurious hotel, kept him restless. Questions swirled in his mind, and the need for answers became increasingly urgent. He decided that first thing in the morning he would talk to his mother, Maria, and together they would confront this unknown. The next morning, Raphael got up early and went to find Maria, who was already awake and preparing breakfast. "Mum, I need to talk to you," Raphael said, trying to sound calm, but the urgency in his voice was evident. Maria looked at him with concern. "What's wrong, son? You seem very agitated." Raphael took a deep breath and began to tell her what he had discovered the day before. He told her about Louisa, her striking resemblance to her, and how he had entered the hotel to find out more. "Her name is Louisa, and she's the owner of the hotel, Mom. I don't understand how it's possible, but we need to know the truth," Raphael concluded, looking at his mother with pleading eyes. Maria remained silent for a moment, processing the information. Then, with a newfound determination in her voice, she said, "You're right, Raphael. We have to go to that hotel and talk to that woman. If there's a connection, we have to find out." They quickly got ready and headed to the hotel. As they arrived, Raphael felt the tension rising inside him, but his mother's calming presence helped him maintain his composure. They entered the hotel lobby together, and Raphael approached the reception desk. "Excuse me, we would like to speak with Mrs. Louisa. It's something very important," Raphael said, trying to sound as formal as possible. The receptionist, recognizing Raphael from the previous day, nodded and led them to an elegant waiting room. After a few minutes that seemed like an eternity, a door opened and Louisa appeared. Upon seeing her, Maria took a step back, astonished by the resemblance. "How can I help you?" Louisa asked, her voice soft yet firm. Raphael stepped forward. "Mrs. Louisa, my name is Raphael, and this is my mother, Maria. Yesterday we discovered that you bear a striking resemblance to my mother, and we believe there may be a connection between you." Louisa looked at Maria intently, and her face showed a mixture of surprise and recognition. "Please, have a seat," Louisa said, gesturing to the nearby sofas. "I think there's something I need to tell you." They all sat down, and Louisa began to speak. "Many years ago, my family suffered A tragedy. My twin sister was kidnapped when we were babies. My parents did everything they could to find her, but we never succeeded. The missing girl's name was Maria. Maria looked at her in disbelief. Are you saying that I'm your twin sister? Louisa nodded, her eyes filled with tears. Yes, I believe so. From the moment I saw you, I knew it was you. I can't explain how happy and sad I feel at the same time. Raphael, who had been listening silently, interjected. But how is it possible that no one knew anything? How did you come to own this hotel? Louisa sighed and continued. After years of searching, my parents never gave up hope, but eventually they had to move on. I inherited this hotel from them and have been running it ever since. But I never stopped thinking about my lost sister. Maria, with tears in her eyes, took Louisa's hand. I can't believe it. My life has been a series of struggles and hardships. I always thought the woman who raised me was my mother, even though she never treated me with love. Now, I understand why I never felt truly loved. Raphael, seeing the pain in his mother's eyes and the emotion in Louisa's, knew that they had to confirm this incredible story. We need to be sure. Mom, we need to do a DNA test. Louisa nodded immediately. Of course, I understand. I'll make the necessary arrangements for the test to be done as soon as possible. The DNA test was carried out at a nearby laboratory, and the results were promised for the next day. The wait was unbearable for everyone. Raphael tried to keep busy selling candy, but his mind was constantly on the test result. Maria, for her part, reflected on her life and the new possibilities opening up before her. The next day, they received a call from the laboratory. The results were ready. They met again at the hotel, where a doctor handed them a sealed envelope. Louisa opened it with trembling hands and read aloud, "The DNA test results confirm that Maria and Louisa are twin sisters." The silence that followed was heavy, charged with emotion. Raphael watched as tears streamed down the faces of his mother and Louisa. It was a moment of both joy and sadness, a revelation that changed everything they knew. Maria stood up and hugged Louisa, their bodies shaking with emotion. "I can't believe I finally found you," Maria whispered. Louisa held her tight. "I promise we'll never be apart again. Now that I've found you, I'll do everything I can to make up for lost time." Raphael, watching the scene, felt a mixture of relief and hope. He knew that life would never be the same, but for the first time in a long time, he felt like everything would be okay. "She needs to know everything that happened," Raphael said, looking at his mother. "Vanessa, the woman who raised you, must be confronted with the truth." Louisa nodded. "You're right. We must face that woman and make sure justice is served." Maria and Louisa spent the next couple of days meticulously planning how to confront Vanessa and obtain a confession. The idea of recording her confession emerged as the best strategy to ensure Vanessa couldn't escape the consequences of her actions. One afternoon, as they were sitting in Louisa's living room, Raphael suggested, "We could use my old phone. The recorder still works perfectly, and no one would suspect anything." Maria nodded, a glint of determination in her eyes. "That could work. The key will be to stay calm and not let her suspect anything until she's said enough." Louisa added, "The important thing is that we stand firm and make her understand that her actions will have consequences. We can't let her go unpunished." The day arrived quickly. Maria and Louisa went to Vanessa's house with Raphael, who carried the phone hidden in his pocket, ready to record the confession. Vanessa, as always, received them with a mixture of disdain and suspicion. "What are you doing here? I wasn't expecting visitors," Vanessa said, her voice laced with her usual harsh tone. Maria took a deep breath and said, "Vanessa, we have something very important to discuss with you. It's time for the truth to come out." Vanessa frowned, but let them in. They sat in the living room, a place filled with bitter memories for Maria. Raphael discreetly activated the recorder on his phone and placed it on the table between them. "What are you talking about, Maria?" Vanessa asked impatiently. Luisa spoke up. "Vanessa, we know that Maria is not your biological daughter. We know you kidnapped her when she was a baby. It's time for you to confess what you did." Vanessa's face turned pale, and her eyes narrowed in a mixture of surprise and anger. "I don't know what you're talking about. Maria is my daughter." Maria, with a calmness that surprised even herself, said, "Vanessa, please, don't make this any harder. We know the truth. We need you to admit it." Vanessa looked at Maria and then at Luisa. "Who the hell are you to come in here and tell me these things?" "I'm Luisa, Maria's twin sister. We were separated at birth when you kidnapped her," Luisa replied firmly. The silence in the room became unbearable. Finally, Vanessa, with a defeated sigh, murmured, "All right. I admit it. I kidnapped her." Raphael held his breath as he continued recording. Vanessa continued, "I couldn't have children of my own. When I saw Maria in the hospital, I knew I had to have her. It was a moment of desperation, and yes, I took her and raised her as my own. But it was never easy. She was never what I expected." Maria felt a mixture of relief and pain. "Why did you always treat me with such contempt then? Why could you never love me?" Vanessa avoided Maria's gaze. "Because you always reminded me of my failure, my desperation. I could never get over the guilt." Luisa intervened. "That doesn't justify anything, Vanessa. What you did was a crime. Maria deserves to know the truth and have justice." "And what are you planning to do now? Take me to jail?" Vanessa asked defiantly. Maria, with tears in her eyes, said, "I just want you to acknowledge the harm you've done. I'm not looking for revenge, but this can't go unpunished." Luisa added, "We've already made up our minds. We're going to inform the police. This recording will be enough for you to face justice." Vanessa, defeated, said nothing more. She simply sank into her chair, knowing her time was up. That same afternoon, Maria and Luisa went to the police station with Raphael, taking the recording as evidence. They explained everything that had happened and handed the recording over to the officers. One officer, after listening to the recording, nodded gravely. "This is more than enough to proceed. We'll issue an arrest warrant immediately." Maria and Luisa looked at each other, knowing they had done the right thing. It was a moment of justice and closure for Maria, who would finally see the woman who had mistreated her face the consequences of her actions. That night, the police arrived at Vanessa's house and arrested her. Raphael watched from the window, feeling a mixture of relief and sadness. He knew his mother's life would change for the better, but he also understood the weight of the situation. Maria, seeing Vanessa being taken away by the police, felt a mixture of emotions. She knew this wouldn't erase the past, but it was a step toward a more just future, free from Vanessa's shadow. Luisa hugged her and said, "This is just the beginning. Now we can start to heal and build a better life together." Maria nodded, tears in her eyes, but with a newfound hope in her heart. "Yes, Luisa. Together, we can overcome all of this." The news of Vanessa's arrest spread quickly, and the community was shocked to discover the truth behind the woman they had known for so many years. The story of Maria and Luisa, two sisters reunited after a lifetime of separation, became a symbol of hope and justice. Raphael observed his mother and Luisa, knowing that although the road ahead would be difficult, they would face it together, with the strength of love and truth on their side. The days following Vanessa's arrest were filled with mixed emotions and the need to adapt to a new reality. Maria and Raphael, though relieved to have faced the truth, began to experience the emotional aftermath of everything that had happened. One afternoon, while Raphael was helping Luisa organize some documents at the hotel, Maria sat in the garden, lost in thought. The cool breeze caressed her face, but her mind was far away, reliving painful memories and trying to come to terms with what she discovered. Luisa approached her with a worried expression. "Maria, how are you feeling today?" she asked, sitting down next to her. Maria sighed, looking at her sister. "I don't know, Luisa. It's complicated. Even though I know Vanessa did something terrible, I can't help but remember that she was the one who raised me. I feel conflicted." Luisa took Maria's hand. "It's natural to feel that way. Vanessa hurt you, but she was also a part of your life for many years. But now you have the chance to start over, with Raphael and me." "That's true," Maria replied, her eyes welling up with tears. "But I can't stop thinking about her. I want her to pay for what she did, but at the same time I don't want to see her suffer. I know it's contradictory." Raphael, who had been listening from the doorway, came closer and joined the conversation. "Mum, I understand. Vanessa caused us a lot of pain, but she also gave us a home. Maybe we should consider talking to a lawyer to see if there's anything we can do for her." Luisa nodded. "We can explore that option. In the meantime, I want you to consider coming to live with me. I have plenty of space in my house and we can support each other. Plus, we could make plans for Raphael to continue his studies without having to worry about money." Maria looked at Raphael, who nodded enthusiastically. "That would be wonderful, Luisa. I appreciate your generosity, but I want to contribute in some way. I can't just depend on you." "Don't worry about that now," Luisa replied. "The important thing is that you are together and safe. We can find a way for you to participate in the hotel or some other activity that you enjoy." The decision was made. Maria and Raphael moved into Luisa's house, starting a new chapter in their lives. Raphael enrolled in a nearby school and quickly adapted to his new environment. Maria, meanwhile, began working at the hotel, helping Luisa with administrative tasks and discovering an unexpected talent for management. However, thoughts of Vanessa continued to haunt Maria. One day, she decided to visit her lawyer, a woman named Claudia, to discuss the possibility of requesting a reduced sentence for Vanessa. "Claudia, I need your help," Maria began, sitting across from the lawyer's desk. "Vanessa did something horrible by kidnapping me, but she also raised me. I don't want her to spend the rest of her life in jail." Claudia looked at her with understanding. "I understand, Maria. We can file a motion with the judge explaining the circumstances and requesting a reduced sentence. However, you need to be prepared for the possibility that it won't be granted." "I know," Maria replied firmly, "but I have to try. I can't live with the idea of not doing anything." Days turned into weeks as Claudia prepared the case. During this time, Maria and Raphael found comfort in the stability their new life with Luisa offered. Each day was a step towards recovery, but also a battle with the ghosts of the past. Finally, the day of the hearing arrived. Maria, Luisa, and Raphael appeared in court, nervous but determined. Vanessa was brought into the courtroom, looking fragile, but still with the defiant gaze that Maria knew so well. The judge reviewed the motion for a reduced sentence and listened to Claudia's arguments. Maria gave her testimony, explaining her complicated relationship with Vanessa and her reasons for asking for leniency. Your Honor, I understand that Vanessa committed a serious crime, but I also know that she raised me and, in her own way, tried to give me the best she could. I'm not seeking to excuse her actions, just asking that you consider reducing her sentence, Maria said, her voice breaking with emotion. The judge nodded, taking note of her words. I will consider your request and issue a ruling in a few days. The wait was agonizing, but they finally received a call from the court. Vanessa's sentence had been reduced. Although she would not be released immediately, her time in prison would be shorter. Maria felt a mixture of relief and sadness. She knew she had done the right thing, but she also understood that emotional wounds take time to heal. That night, sitting on the balcony with Luisa and Rafael, Maria reflected on the journey they had taken. We are starting over, Luisa said, breaking the silence. And while it won't be easy, I'm confident that together we can overcome any obstacle. Rafael nodded, looking at the stars. Yes, the important thing is that we are together. And now, more than ever, we have the opportunity to build a better life. Maria smiled, feeling an inner peace she hadn't experienced in a long time. Thank you, Luisa. And thank you, Rafael. I don't know what I would have done without you. Maria woke early in her new room with a sense of renewed hope. The morning sun gently illuminated the room, and for the first time in a long time, she felt an inner calm. Since moving into Luisa's house, everything had changed for the better. Although she still struggled with memories of the past, she was determined to seize this new opportunity. While she was getting ready for her first day of work at Luisa's hotel, Rafael was preparing for his first day at his new school. Both were filled with nervousness and excitement. Are you ready for today? Maria asked Rafael as they had breakfast together. Yes, Mum. I'm a little nervous but excited too. It's a great opportunity, Rafael answered, smiling. Maria nodded, feeling a surge of pride. I know you'll do great, Rafael. You're a smart and kind boy. You'll make friends quickly. After breakfast, Luisa drove them to their respective destinations. First, they dropped Rafael off at his new school, a place with ample facilities and a welcoming atmosphere. Rafael looked at the building with a mixture of anticipation and anxiety. Good luck, son, Maria said from the car. See you this afternoon. Thanks, Mom. See you later, Rafael replied, getting out of the car and walking towards the entrance with determined steps. Then, Luisa and Maria headed to the hotel. Upon arrival, Luisa showed Maria the office where she would be working. It was a cozy space, adapted so that Maria could move around easily with her wheelchair. This will be your new workplace, Luisa said, smiling. I'm sure you'll do a great job here. Maria smiled gratefully. Thank you, Luisa. I'm excited to get started. I never thought I could have an opportunity like this. Throughout the day, Maria familiarized herself with her new responsibilities. Although administrative work was new to her, she adapted quickly thanks to Luisa's patience and support. Soon, she began to feel part of the team, appreciated for her skills and dedication. Meanwhile, Rafael was also adjusting to his new school. The first few moments were difficult, but he soon met some classmates who made him feel welcome. Lucas, his longtime friend, also attended the same school, which made the transition easier. Lucas, exclaimed Rafael upon seeing him in the hallway. I didn't know you came here. Yeah, I transferred recently. How's your first day going? Lucas asked with a smile. Good, A little overwhelming, but I'm starting to adapt, Raphael replied, feeling more at ease seeing a familiar face. During recess, Raphael and Lucas sat together, talking about classes and new classmates. Little by little, Raphael began to feel more comfortable in his new environment. Back at the hotel, Maria was finishing her workday when Luisa approached her. "How was your first day?" Luisa asked. "It was very good. I feel useful and appreciated here." "Thank you for this opportunity, Luisa," Maria replied with a sincere smile. "I'm glad to hear that. I knew you would fit right in," Luisa said. "Now, let's go home and celebrate this first day." That afternoon, when Raphael returned from school, they shared their experiences of the day while having dinner together. Each had stories to tell, and joy and optimism filled the air. "Mom, I met some really nice guys today. I think I'm going to like this school," Raphael said, his face lit up with a smile. "I'm so happy to hear that, son. I had a good day at work too. Luisa and the team made me feel very welcome," Maria replied. Luisa, watching her sister and nephew, felt a deep satisfaction. "I'm so happy to see you both adapting so well. I knew this would be the beginning of something wonderful for us." Over time, Maria and Raphael began to integrate more into their new community. They met their neighbors, participated in local events, and forged new friendships. Each day brought new experiences and opportunities, and little by little, they left behind the shadows of the past. One afternoon, as they were walking through a nearby park, Raphael stopped and looked at his mother and Luisa. "Thank you for everything," Raphael said. "I know there are still challenges ahead, but with you by my side, I know we can overcome them." Maria hugged him, feeling a surge of love and gratitude. "Yes, Raphael. Together, we can face anything." The days turned into weeks, and Maria, Raphael, and Luisa continued to adapt to their new life, full of hope and promise. The stability and love they now felt strengthened them day by day. However, there was one pending matter that Maria knew she had to face in order to close a painful chapter in her life. One morning, after breakfast, Maria addressed Raphael and Luisa. "I've been thinking a lot, and I think it's time to visit Vanessa in jail," she said, determination in her voice. Raphael and Luisa looked at each other, surprised but understanding. "Are you sure, Mom?" Raphael asked, worried. "Yes, Raphael. I need to do this so I can move on," Maria replied. "I need to forgive her." Luisa nodded, supporting her sister. "I understand, Maria. We'll be with you through this." And days later, Maria and Raphael went to the prison where Vanessa was being held. The cold and austere atmosphere of the place reminded them of the gravity of what they were about to do. Upon entering the visiting room, they saw Vanessa sitting there, her face etched with time and guilt. "Maria, Raphael," Vanessa said, her voice trembling. "I didn't expect to see you here." Maria took a deep breath and sat down in front of her. "Vanessa, we're here because we need to talk to you and close this chapter of our lives." Vanessa nodded, her gaze filled with remorse. "I understand. I know what I did was wrong, and I deeply regret all the pain I caused you." Raphael watched silently, letting his mother take the lead. Maria, in a soft but firm voice, said, "I've decided to forgive you, Vanessa. Not for you, but for me and for Raphael. We can't move on with resentment in our hearts." Tears welled up in Vanessa's eyes. "Thank you, Maria. I don't deserve your forgiveness, but I appreciate it more than you can imagine." Raphael intervened, his voice calm. "We all need to find peace, I hope this helps you reflect and change." The visit ended with a sense of liberation for everyone. Maria and Rafael left the prison feeling lighter, as if an invisible weight had been lifted from their shoulders. Back home, Luisa welcomed them with open arms. "How did it go?" she asked, her face full of concern. Maria smiled faintly. "It was difficult but necessary. I finally feel like I can move on." Over time, each member of the family experienced significant personal growth. Rafael excelled at school, not only academically, but also in extracurricular activities, earning the respect and admiration of his peers and teachers. Maria found her place at the hotel, not just as an employee, but as a valuable member of the team. She discovered hidden talents in management and customer service, which gave her a newfound self-confidence. Luisa, for her part, found renewed energy and joy in the presence of Maria and Rafael. The house was filled with laughter, conversations, and shared moments that strengthened family ties. One afternoon, as they were all gathered in the garden, Rafael said, "I'm so grateful for everything we have now. We've been through so much, but we've come out stronger." Maria hugged him, feeling a deep sense of gratitude. "Yes, Rafael, together we have overcome many trials, and now we have the opportunity to enjoy a life full of love and hope." Luisa nodded, her heart full of happiness. Family is the most important thing, and I'm glad we're all together. The story of Maria, Rafael, and Luisa became an example of resilience and hope in their community. They had shown that despite adversity, love and family unity could overcome any obstacle. The future looked bright for them. The promise of a new beginning, full of love and opportunity, was now a reality. And so, with the strength of forgiveness and the power of family, they faced the future with hope and determination, knowing that together they could achieve anything. Maria, Rafael, and Luisa's story is a heartwarming tale of resilience and hope. It shows us that, despite adversity, love and family unity can overcome any obstacle. The act of forgiving Vanessa, despite the harm caused, highlights the importance of forgiveness and emotional liberation. This narrative underscores the strength of family bonds and the ability to reinvent oneself, finding joy and purpose in life. It is a reminder that with love and mutual support, we can face the past and build a future filled with hope and happiness. If you found this story as moving, please like and comment to let us know how you feel. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss other meaningful stories.